Oh, we go. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our dermatological class with Dr. Vanessa Lappiner. Ali, Adi, and myself are so excited and proud to welcome our sister, well, Adi and my sister, not Adi, but she's like a fellow sister, Dr. Vanessa Lappiner, who's a specialist dermatologist and founder of TASH 360, which means Total Approach to Skin Health, which is an integrative practice in Sea Point, Cape Town, in South Africa, offering dermatological surgery, laser, aesthetics, integrative medicine, and nutrition. Vanessa completed her Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery degree at the University of Cape Town in 2004, graduating with first-class honors and distinction and being awarded the Golden Keys National Honors Award. In 2009, she went on to achieve a Master of Science in Medicine in Cell Biology and graduated with distinction in recognition of her work on pigment cell disorders. She then completed her dermatology training at Groote Schuur Hospital, graduating summa cum laude as a fellow of the College Dermatologists of South Africa in 2010. For this, she was awarded the Peter Gordon Smith Award for Clinical Excellence. Vanessa opened her dermatology practice in 2011. Her practice has an all-encompassing approach to skin health. In 2018, she co-founded the establishment of Atlantic Dermatology and Laser by adding laser and aesthetic specialists to her practice. And in 2019, she founded TASH 360 with leaders in the world of integrative medicine. When she's not at her practice, you'll find Vanessa with her other loves, her husband, her 4 beautiful children, her 2 dogs, her 1 cat, and a few goldfish. And she's also a published poet, so she's amazing with her English as well. So welcome, Vanessa, and we are looking so forward to your talk. Over to you.
Thanks, Sarah. And Samantha made a message to the group saying that she's excited to meet the 3rd sister, so I am the 3rd sister. And I am excited to be here and excited to share a little bit about what is this total approach to skin health. I'm going to share my screen. Just tell me if you can all see it. You just get back to the beginning. Okay. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so as my sister was saying, skin is my profession. I'm a dermatologist, but it is 100% my passion. I don't need to be asked twice to come and talk at any time about skincare in particular. And I work in Sea Point, as she said, in a practice, and we've grown quite fast from just Marile, many of you know Marile and I, who started the practice together in 2011, and we're now 12 people and counting today. And our practice is a little unique in that we are an integrative dermatology practice. So we look at the skin more holistically. And I think that the ethos of young living really fits into how we approach skincare, looking at inside out beauty and health holistically. So if you want beautiful, radiant skin, you really need to optimize your skin health. And only then are you really going to look at what you're applying to your skin. So what is a total approach to skin health? It's really integrating conventional dermatology with in-depth testing and disease diagnosis where applicable, together with functional medicine, which is addressing genetic and lifestyle factors to find the best way to treat the root cause of skin disease and persistent symptoms. So this means looking at what you're eating, whether you're exercising, how you're managing your stress levels, and what supplements you're taking, amongst others. And finally, and only then do we look at personalized care, taking into account your concerns, your lifestyle, and what your skincare goals are. Because we really do believe that skincare needs to be individualized and preventative and should not just be generalized and reactionary. So this is a little pyramid in terms of how we should be looking at skin health. So at the bottom, you've got your intrinsic factors, and these are the factors that you can't really do much about. It's what is your Fitzpatrick skin type? Do you burn when you're exposed to the sun? What are your genetics? What do your parents look like? And where you're living? What is the climate? What is the water composition of where you're living? Are you a smoker? Are you sitting at a desk exposed to blue light all day that is going to predispose you to more pigmentation? And how much time are you spending outdoors? And then only then are you going to look at the next level, which is looking at diet and your sun behavior, or, you know, what are you doing in terms of lifestyle? And then right at the top, you're looking at topicals and what treatments you're doing to the skin. And then you can go a step further and you can break it down into what are you doing daily for your skin? What are you doing monthly? What are you doing twice yearly? What are you doing yearly? Because maintenance is key. It's important to just keep on looking after your skin. Because while you look at more dramatic results that can be found from doing treatments, this is broadband light therapy, which is one of the most popular treatments that we do in our practice. And here it's treating pigmentation, or whether you're doing a more aggressive treatment like laser resurfacing, where you can literally wipe away wrinkles, you are not going to maintain your results if you don't go back and look at your lifestyle factors and what you're doing to your skin every single day, because you're going to be disappointed to lose those kind of results. So if we come back to what we should be doing for our skin daily, it can be pretty overwhelming. So what I want to do tonight is just break it down for you. So what I want to do first is look at the don'ts of skincare. What don't you want to be doing to your skin? What don't you want to be putting on your skin? And then we'll move on to the next section of the talk, which is looking more at, well, what do you want to be putting on your skin and where essential oils fit into that. Okay, so there's certain ingredients in skincare that I call questionables. And what this means is that there's a question mark over them. We don't really know the long-term effects of using these ingredients day in and day out on our skin. And although there's definitely a certain amount of sensationalism around clean beauty, there's also good research with good clinical trials showing a cause for concern. So here's some of the common statistics that I'm sure many of you have been exposed to before. And while some of them have truth to them, like for example, in the US, there are dramatically fewer ingredients that are banned as compared to in the EU, for example. Other statistics like those 26 seconds is all it takes for chemicals and personal care products to enter the bloodstream is not actually accurate, because the factors that are determining how things are being absorbed into the skin are really very complex. When it comes to how many chemicals we're exposed to daily, this question was answered by the Environmental Working Group, and they did a survey on 2,300 people in 2004, and they found that the average woman uses 12 products on their skin daily, which exposes her to 168 unique chemicals a day. So the question comes up that, are we actually dying to be beautiful? What are we doing in the name of beauty? So whereas with hindsight, it's pretty easy to stop things that we definitely don't want to be putting on our skin. Here you can see arsenic wafers that used to be available that women used to either wash their skin with or bath in to lighten their skin, or lead in lipstick, for example. But in today's cosmetics, you have to be a little bit more savvy at reading ingredient labels to understand what is in the products that we are using. Because even if you are shopping at Wellness Warehouse or Faithful to Nature, there's this issue of greenwashing, which for me is the worst of marketing that a product can do, where they put themselves out there that they're green and safe to use on the skin. But in fact, if you look closely and read the ingredients, there are still ingredients there that you really don't want to be using. And it all comes down to the absolutely lack of regulation around being able to use terms such as clean or natural or organic, because in reality, you can put 1 drop of an organic essential oil in a product and you can call it organic. So we want our products to be clean, but what does this term actually mean? And while there isn't one definition, the clean beauty movement really embraces both natural and man-made ingredients, putting the emphasis on safety rather than on source, because not all natural ingredients are safe and not all synthetic ingredients are unsafe. And really, sometimes it's the concentration of the ingredient that is more important than the ingredient itself. So there's no question that this term of clean beauty is being abused. So let's break down why we should be worried about what we put on the skin. And if you've listened to me talk on this topic before, it was a long talk and I think pretty complex. So tonight I've tried to simplify it and broken it down into an algorithm. So here we have our ABCDE, where A is standing for allergic contact dermatitis. So this is putting a product on your skin and it's going to cause a rash in simplified terms. And the prevalence of cosmetic allergy in the general population is really unknown because most people don't say when they've got a mild reaction. But if you look at statistics, they're reporting it at around 10%. And there are many kinds of reactions. You can get urticaria from a product, but allergic contact dermatitis is the one that I see most commonly, and really it looks like eczema. And it's going to come about 12 hours to 48 hours after you've used a product. And to try and work out which one ingredient is causing the problem is tricky. And as dermatologists, we use this test, which is patch testing, to try and work out which specific ingredient is causing your rash. At home, what you can do is an open patch test, and that's pretty simple to do, where you take your product, you apply it on the inside of your elbow twice a day for 4 days, and you see whether you develop a rash. If you don't, then it's safe to use over the rest of the body. So there are many potential allergens that we're exposed to in our products, but the 2 main groups that cause problems are fragrances and preservatives. There are more than 5,000 fragrances that are used in cosmetic products today, and it's important to note that you can see unscented on a product, but it doesn't actually mean that it doesn't include a fragrance, because often what products do is they include something called a masking fragrance. So it's something to mask a bad smell of another ingredient, and you can still react to that masking fragrance. And the problem when it comes to fragrances is that there's this loophole in an act called the Federal Fair Packaging and Labeling Act, which came about in 1973, where manufacturers don't actually have to tell you what is in their fragrance because it's a secret, it's a closed secret. They don't have to disclose the ingredients. And data has shown that popular fragrances can actually include on average around 14 chemicals. And there are multiple health impacts of this. And in fact, perfumes are being called the smell of autism because autism is one of the problems that they're being linked to. Preservatives are the other group, and the ones that you can look out for are parabens and also the group of formaldehyde releases and imidazole, ladanol, urea, and these also have multiple health risks, and I'll touch on a few of them later. Okay, so B is the barrier of the skin, and my patients know that I kind of harp on this a lot because it's the critical thing is protecting the barrier of your skin. And why? It's because it's providing the protection from either bacteria and viruses, chemicals, irritants, and allergens. And it also protects the body from something called transepidermal water loss, because otherwise we're going to be losing water through our skin and the skin is going to become dehydrated. If the skin's dehydrated, it's more prone to irritation and eczema. Another critical aspect of the skin barrier is the microbiome. And in 2008, there was a massive project which was initiated called the Human Microbiome Project. And it unveiled this huge community of bacteria that are living in us and on us. And it also showed that the body contains 10 times as many bacteria as we actually have cells in our body. So we really need to be protecting our bacteria because they are important. And the gut bacteria are the ones that have received all the limelight, and rightly so, because we actually wouldn't be surviving without them. We can't break certain food products down. We don't have the enzymes to do that. We rely on the bacteria in our guts to do that for us. So our gut microbes break down the proteins, fats, and carbohydrates into nutrients that we can then absorb. And they also even produce beneficial compounds like vitamins and anti-inflammatories that our own bodies can't produce. But the microbiome of the skin is equally important. So the bacteria, the fungi, and the viruses that live on the skin surface help to maintain homeostasis on the surface of the skin. And if the stratum corneum, which is the upper layer of the skin, is structurally competent with an acid pH and a well-organized lipid matrix, which are the fats in the skin, which have been described as this brick and mortar structure, then it prevents colonization with bacteria that are harmful to the skin, like Staphylococcus aureus. And just as an example, patients with eczema, 90% of them are going to be colonized with Staph aureus, just as an example of how it can contribute to an impaired barrier and skin irritation like eczema. So surfactants in our cleansers are one of the main culprits which can disrupt our skin barrier and strip the microbiome from the skin barrier. So you want to avoid soaps with sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium laurate sulfate. And they have high levels of skin penetration. And apart from the fact that they're stripping the skin barrier, there are also potential issues around contamination with potential carcinogens. For example, ethylene oxide or 1,4-dioxane in these surfactants. And in 2007, the Environmental Working Group found that 22% of 15,000 products that they tested potentially contained these carcinogens, which should have been removed by vacuum stripping, but which weren't. And one of the main misconceptions I find with my patients is this feeling that something has to foam to cleanse properly. But honestly, it doesn't. You can have an oil cleanser. You can actually use an emollient, a moisturizer to cleanse the skin. And the way to do it is a double cleanse at night. That's when you really want to get rid of all the pollutants that you're exposed to during the day. And in the morning, unless you have a really oily skin, a splash of water is totally sufficient. Okay, so C is one that is a bit of a loaded topic, and that is carcinogens or contamination with carcinogens. So what does the research show us? That ingredients, for example, petroleum, which is Vaseline, has safety concerns of contamination with polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which have been shown to be associated with cancer if they're exposed to the skin for an extended period of time. So on this basis, in Europe, for example, petroleum is classified as a carcinogen. And if a product contains a petroleum-based ingredient, it actually has to call it surgical grade or carcinogen-free on the packaging. Then you've got polyethylene glycols or the PEGs, which are in cetamacrogol or Epimax, for example. And here you also have issues of contamination with ethylene oxide or 1,4-dioxane. And in fact, the PEG compounds themselves can be toxic to our DNA. And there are warnings against applying them to damaged skin, which is concerning because it often forms the backbone of our treatments with eczema patients. And you also have more direct links to cancer, for example, retinol palmitates, which are found in so many of our products. It's a vitamin A. And there was a study where they applied it to hairless mice and then exposed these mice to UV light, and they found that the mice started developing skin cancers. So they think that retinol palmitate, when exposed to UV light, can actually predispose you to the development of skin malignancy. So definitely not an ingredient you want to be applying during the daytime. Then we have other kinds of potential carcinogens. Parabens have been in the limelight. and they're linked to breast cancer, which is the main concern. And it's not only because they mimic estrogen, and I'm going to touch on this a little bit later, but actually put parabens in a petri dish with breast cancer cells, and those breast cancer cells start to develop and divide. And even more concerning is if you put parabens in another dish with tamoxifen, which is a drug that's used to treat breast cancer, it inhibits that drug from treating the breast cancer. So it's a carcinogen in its own right. And then there also formaldehyde. I think most of us know that formaldehyde is a carcinogen. It's in hair straightening treatments like the Brazilian blow dry and those kind of straightening treatments. But what I think is less known is this category of formaldehyde releasing preservatives. So when companies had to take parabens out of what they were using, they needed to replace them with another preservative. And so they started using these formaldehyde releasing preservatives, which actually slowly release formaldehyde over time. And a link between these releases and leukemia was published in 2009, while in 2014, there was a study that formaldehyde not only causes, but it can also speed up the growth of cancer. Sunscreen is another controversial topic in terms of the chemicals that it contains and how safe they are. And it's quite a critical topic because as a dermatologist, I'm telling my patients, it's SPF, it's SPF, it's SPF. Every day, reapply 2 to 4 hourly, rain or sunshine, you need to be putting it on because not only is it protecting you from UV, but it's going to be protecting you from blue light from our devices. So the major controversy surrounding chemical filters when it comes to human safety is that of endocrine disruption, but which is a recurring theme with so many of our ingredients. And out of the chemical filters, oxybenzone has the highest hazard score, so it's the least safe. And again, oxybenzone and octinoxate themselves can stimulate the growth of, for example, breast cancer cells. But I do want to make the point that the dose of exposure is critical. And also nanoparticles, and so many of the manufacturers are trying to make the ingredients as small as possible so they can penetrate more deeply and affect change more deeply in the skin. And so that is also opening up a bit of a can of worms when it comes to, ingredient safety. And the bottom line is that we're using a lot of products. We're exposed to ingredients across the board, when we look at how many products we're using and exposed to daily. And so they start to build up in our bodies and accumulate. And the more we expose ourselves, the more they build up, and our bodies have quite a tough time getting rid of them. So D is disruption of our hormones, which is this concept of endocrine disruption. And as you can see here, there are a lot of potential culprits in the products that we are using daily. And the term endocrine disrupting hormone was first coined by a group of scientists in the 1990s at a conference in Wisconsin. And what it is if you look at this here, you can see this is a receptor, this is what a hormone looks like, and this is an endocrine disruptor. And the endocrine disruptor can actually attach to this receptor. The receptor can't tell the difference between a hormone, for example, and the chemical, and it then functions the way it would when it's exposed to estrogen, and this is concerning. And for example, parabens really mimic estrogen, and if you look at the structure here, that's estrogen, and you look at the structure of parabens here, you can see how similar they are and why our receptors are confused when they're exposed to the two. And parabens, for example, will effectively then behave like an estrogen, which increases our risk of breast cancer. Other endocrine disruptors include the phthalates, which make fragrances stick to our skin and last longer, which have been linked to testicular cancer, and most of the chemical filters in sunscreen are also potent endocrine disruptors. Oxybenzone has statistically significant associations with infertility, with pregnancy outcomes, and with birth outcomes. Adolescent boys that have higher oxybenzone exposures have been found to have lower testosterone in their bodies, and octinoxate has been shown to affect the thyroid. So it's not a question of if we're carrying a burden of toxic compounds, but rather it's how much and what are the implications. So the take-home message around cosmetic ingredient safety is really, if there's a question mark about an ingredient, rather just avoid it until we have more definitive ideas of what their safety profile really is. Thankfully, regulations around cosmetic ingredient safety are coming to the forefront, and you know, we have people that are advocating for more safety in cosmetics, and Diane Feinstein is one of those people.
What you put on the skin seeps into the bottom. You know, their poison is the other thing I can to see that people are responsible for the products they put on the open market.
We're also fortunate that we've got lots of resources to try and understand what are going into the products that we are using. The environmental working group remains my kind of go-to, and you can even build your own report for the products in South Africa that we are not on their database. It really takes 2 seconds to put in, and you'll get a rating out of 10 of how safe that product is. Others, for example, CosDNA, Inky Dakota are other good resources to know about. And then finally, E stands for the environment, because as much as we want to use products that are good for us, that are good for our skin, we also don't want to use products that are going to be harmful for our environment. And environmental no-nos that we don't want to use are the microbeads, which are plasticizers in our exfoliating agents, in some of our face washes, and also certain ingredients themselves. And again, sunscreen comes up as a culprit. Substantial research has shown that oxybenzone, for example, is causing bleaching of coral, which is damaging this valuable ecosystem. And in July in 2018, Hawaii became the first country in the US to ban the sale of sunscreens which contain oxybenzone, and is now being followed by Key West in Florida. And if you consider that 25% of sunscreen is washed off within 20 minutes of swimming, releasing 6,000 tons of sunscreen into coral reefs every year, which are home to 25% of all marine species, you can understand the concern. And the other issue, and which is an important factor, is that within 20 minutes of applying sunscreen to your body, you can find oxybenzone in the urine. And what happens then is that we're contaminating our water supplies, because our current waste treatment processes struggle to remove these UV filters from the water, and then it's re-entering our water supplies, effluent, with the rest then going in and contaminating the ocean. And then, of course, there's the issues of packaging, and brands are really having to focus on sustainability, which is the big buzzword, I think, in the cosmetic industry at the moment. Environmental consciousness is necessary to reduce our footprint on Earth. This means finding ingredients from renewable resources. We need to be manufacturing them by environmentally friendly processes, and we need to be using biodegradable or recyclable packaging. And then lastly, there's the humanitarian aspect, with cruelty-free beauty also becoming important. So this basically sums up what we should be asking ourselves when we're looking at a product. Am I going to react to it? Is it going to disrupt my barrier? Is it potentially carcinogenic? Is it going to mess with my hormones? Or is it going to damage the environment? And if you can answer yes to any of these questions, rather just avoid it. All right, so now we've gone through all the don'ts. Let's focus on the do's. So let's be honest that there's a lot of skincare options out there today with pretty tantalizing claims to reverse this kind of normal aging process. And Instagram influencers' opinion has become expert advice, and beauty therapists who have received just a few hours of training in a product are being trusted to recommend what we are putting on our skin. And we as a society are pretty determined to slow down the aging process. So first, a few home truths. The one is that skin is pretty complex. That's why it takes over 4 years to specialize in dermatology, over and above basic medical training. And the second thing is, if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So similarly, if you're only knowing one skincare brand, that's all you're going to be able to recommend to people. And the key to pulling together a skincare regimen is firstly to identify your top bugbears about what bothers you about your skin, and then to incorporate the ingredients that are not only going to treat that, but also going to prevent it from coming back. My approach to skin health is based on the Skin Health Golden Pyramid, which was first published in the Journal of Drugs of Dermatology in 2014. And it's really a cheat sheet as to whether you're covering all your skincare needs. And while everyone's pyramids are going to look a little different, the bare bones are all the same. So at the bottom, you've got your fundamentals. These are the ingredients you have to use daily to protect and repair your skin. These are the non-negotiables without which the whole pyramid really comes tumbling down. You're not going to see a change in your skin today, but your future self will be really, really happy that you have taken the time to use these fundamentals. The next layer are the transformative ingredients, and this is the fun bit. This is where you start seeing change in your skin, and as a dermatologist, this is where I'm focusing targeted treatment. Am I treating pigmentation? Am I treating rosacea? This is when I'm going to incorporate those kind of ingredients. So these ingredients are going to moisturize, they're going to exfoliate, they're going to increase cell turnover. And then at the top, we've got the ingredients that are going to optimize your skin. These are the most advanced, nice to have ingredients, where they're really the big gun, cutting edge, healthy aging ingredients that are sitting right at the top of the skincare pyramid. And they're really the icing on the cake. And they're going to boost your cosmeceuticals, and they stimulate by switching on genes, which are responsible for revving up collagen production, which is going to make your skin look fresher and look brighter. So using the Skin Health Pyramid is a perfect starting point to understanding the why behind the skincare ingredients we use. And if we start with the skin fundamentals, we're looking at sun protection, antioxidants, and DNA repair. Because would you ever design your dream house with a home theater and with an indoor swimming pool, but without a bathroom or a kitchen? Because essentially that's what you're doing if you are incorporating like the buzz peptides or growth factors into your skincare, but you're not putting on sunscreen every day. Because ultimately your most important skincare ingredient remains protection against the sun. In the same way that if you're talking about junk food, there's that expression, a moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. I've got a phrase that I apply to skincare, which is a day's fun of sunbathing, a lifetime of skin cancer and aging. Because really the sun is not your skin's friend. So even when it comes to the sun, I like to apply my ABCs. And I'm not only talking about the 3 types of UV that we are exposed to, really UVA and UVB are the ones that impact our skin, but I'm also talking about what they are causing: aging, burning, and cancer. And I just want to also highlight this spectrum here of blue and visible light, which is becoming very, very important, and we're understanding more and more how we are living through the age of digital aging. Our devices are actually aging us, so we need to be protecting ourselves, even if we're in the office, even on a cloudy day. We want to be using the fundamental skincare ingredients to protect us from this kind of blue light that we are exposed to all the time. So this is William McElligott. He's a 66-year-old truck driver, and for me, he's a living and breathing cautionary tale. As you can see, the left-hand side of his face is deeply lined, it's pitted, it's sagging after 28 years of sun exposure through the side window of his delivery truck. The right-hand side, which was shaded by his van because he was going around delivering milk around California is much, much younger, which really is showing us how aging sun can be. And even in South Africa, if you talk to most of the aesthetic GPs who are injecting, putting in fillers, they will always say that, you know, the right-hand side of the face, which is the driver's side in South Africa, is the side that we have to be pumping up and volumizing so much more, because this is the side that is exposed to more UV. And it's also UVA, which is the spectrum of UV that we are worried about, because that's the one that's able to infiltrate right down to the deep layer of the skin, where it's damaging collagen, which is making our skin elastic. And that means a skin that is more prone to wrinkling and sagging. And even if you can't see the damage now, we have these certain things like the Visier analysis or UV portraits, which able to highlight the damage that is not yet visible, that will become visible with time. And it just shows us that our behavior today is really going to influence what our skin is going to look like tomorrow. And when it comes to sunscreen, my sunscreen of choice are the mineral or physical sunscreens. Look out for zinc oxide, look out for titanium dioxide. As you can see, they're just sitting on the surface of the skin and reflecting the UV rays off the surface of the skin, as opposed to the chemical filters, which are absorbed into the skin, where they actually absorb the UV light and they convert it into heat, which is then given off again. And also, if you look here at zinc oxide, you'll see that it's got really good broad spectrum protection. It's protecting against both UVA and UVB, as opposed to the chemical filters. And that's why when you see a chemical sunscreen, you'll see that they're really mixing usually around 6 chemical filters together to cover the full spectrum, exposing us to more obviously questionable ingredients. All right, so where do essential oils come into the pyramid? So if we look at sun protection, the 3 essential oils that are most spoken about are carrot seed oil, helichrysum, and myrrh. And carrot seed oil is probably the one that if you Google it, it's the one that you're going to find the most. And it's based on a study that was done in 2009. But the study was flawed, because basically they looked at the whole product, which contained carrot seed oil, but it also contained zinc oxide. And as much as the study was flawed, carrot seed oil, there's no question that it is boosting the SPF. So it's still something great to incorporate during the day. It's going to boost whatever SPF product that you are applying to the skin. Other essential oils such as myrrh and helichrysum also have just amazing properties when it comes to the skin. Helichrysum contains arsenol, which is an anti-inflammatory, which can really heal the skin. I think that Ali showed us after she had her surgery on her nose just what something like helichrysum can do in speeding up the healing process. And it really works well on wounds and on scar tissue. And it also has powerful antioxidant properties that can help with cell regeneration. Myrrh is also a powerful antioxidant, and it maintains skin health by facilitating fading of pigmentation. There are also other essential oils which can boost SPF, not as much as the 3 that I've mentioned, but these can include peppermint essential oil and lavender, for example. And although this particular study included citrus oils, I wouldn't use citrus oils during the day because they can make you more photosensitive to the sun. So not an ingredient that I'd want to be using during the daytime. The next important category in this fundamental layer are that of antioxidants. More and more studies are definitively showing how the things that we're exposed to daily, UV, pollution, they are actually bombarding our skin with free radicals and overwhelming our natural antioxidant defenses. So, what is a free radical? They are oxygen molecules that have uneven number of atoms, and when they lose an electron, they get pretty upset and they're going to want to steal one back from another molecule. And this creates even more free radicals looking to steal an electron from something else. and this causes oxidative stress. And this means aging and skin cancer. And unlike the free radical, antioxidants are completely stable, and they can neutralize these free radicals and stop the damage that they can cause. So that's why it's important to be adding antioxidants both into your topical care, but also into your diet. So antioxidants are critical in this fundamental skincare layer because they tick both of the boxes of being a fundamental. They both protect the skin, but they also have the ability to repair the skin. So they're essential to apply during the daytime to protect us from this kind of war zone of free radicals that we are exposed to from the moment that we wake up in the morning. But they're also key to apply at night because they're going to repair the damage that's happened during the day. The most famous and well-studied antioxidant when it comes to skincare remains vitamin C, but there are just so many other beautiful ingredients that you can use. Green tea, pomegranates, niacinamide, resveratrol, these are ingredients that are coming to the forefront of antioxidant skincare now. Some, for example, vitamin E and ferulic acid, are very potent if you use them on their own, but what's so amazing is put them together with vitamin C, and all three of them become more powerful. So that's a really powerful combination that's used in a lot of skincare brands: vitamin C, vitamin E, and ferulic acid. And that's also why a lot of serums boost a whole cocktail of antioxidants that they're using. So we're well versed in the fact that essential oils are powerfully antioxidants, which make them just naturally beautiful ingredients that you can incorporate both in the day as well as in your nighttime skincare regimens. And here are the properties and many properties that make them so powerfully antioxidant. This particular study found that clove, thyme, and jasmine had the highest antioxidant capacity in cosmetic products. But there are just so many amazing anti-inflammatory and antioxidant oils. My favorite, I think that anyone that knows me when it comes to essential oils will know this, is blue tansy. It really started this started everything. It started my whole journey into essential oils, was this amazing essential oil. And it contains something called camesuline as well as alpha-bisabolol, and they're known powerhouses that are pretty famous as being antihistamine, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antimicrobial. And why I was looking for blue tansy in the first place is that it is really, really useful for people with sensitive skin. So many of my patients have burning skin, red skin, they can't use a lot of products on their skin. And blue tansy is just going to calm all that down. Also makes it really useful in patients with rosacea. Other essential oils, rosemary, for example, helps to increase skin circulation and reduce overall inflammation. Melrose is kind of a good overall skin all-rounder. I think if you're in doubt, try Melrose. It doesn't cause a lot of skin irritation or skin reactions, and it helps a wide variety of skin conditions. Lemon is useful when it comes to lightening skin pigmentation, and this again is one for nighttime use only. Clary sage and lavender are other essential oils. Lavender works really well on burns, including sunburn. So if you have been exposed to too much sun, it's a nice one to apply just to soothe the skin down again. And then you've also got copaíba, which is our inflammatory go-to for so many conditions, not only just limited to the skin, but it also works really well on the skin because of the beta-peripheline which it contains. The last element of the fundamental layer is this DNA repair enzymes. And here is the DNA's kind of typical helix structure. It looks like a spiral staircase. And when this DNA is assaulted by either UV or some kind of other free radical, what happens is that these stairs can warp and they can break. And then what happens is the cell starts to malfunction with further DNA damage. and then they can become uncontrolled and they can actually develop into a cancer, can become malignant. And so our skin has to, number one, have a front line against this DNA damage, and it does, and then it needs to have kind of like a second line in case there is some DNA damage. So our first line of defense are our natural antioxidants, such as glutathione. So we do have inherent antioxidants, they just decrease as we age. But they try to neutralize these DNA-damaging free radicals that we're exposed to. But our modern lifestyle means that these natural antioxidants so easily become overwhelmed. And even the most powerful antioxidants can only deflect damage. They can't actually heal the damage once it's already happened. And that's where these DNA repair enzymes come in. They literally cut out damaged DNA like scissors. They put in fresh, clean bases. They correct the genome sequence. But it's not a get out of jail card when it comes to DNA damage, because our DNA repair enzymes also age with us. So as we get older, the level of these enzymes drop. It's almost like someone has misplaced the surgical instruments, their scissors. They get rusty. They can't cut out the DNA bases as efficiently as we get older. But now, amazingly, when it comes to skincare, and for me, this is one of the most exciting categories of ingredients, we actually have DNA repair enzymes that we can incorporate into our skincare. And they come from a lot of places. For example, algae, plankton, and even a type of bacteria called micrococcus. And what the compounders have done, they managed to package them into something called a liposome, which is almost like a little package that can smuggle them into the skin, and there they supplement and they help our own DNA repair capacity. And this really means healthier, more resilient skin. And studies have shown that the patients that are using these products with DNA repair enzymes have less skin cancer over time, and up to 72% improvement in wrinkles after using creams that contain these DNA repair enzymes. But I just want to make the point that it's not the equivalent kind of a morning article. You can't go and have a sunburn and blister and then think it's okay because I'm going to apply some DNA repair enzymes and just repair the damage that I've done, because we've got different types of DNA in our cell's nucleus. So for example, you've got your nuclear DNA, which can be repaired by these DNA repair enzymes, but then you've got mitochondrial DNA, which generates the energy that our cells need to function at its absolute best. And if a cell doesn't have enough energy, it's not going to be able to muster up the antioxidants that we need. It's not going to be able to use its natural repair mechanisms, and definitely won't have enough energy to make collagen, for example. So there are claims that in terms of essential oils, certain components of the essential oils, specifically the sesquiterpenes, can deprogram, or they can erase information from cellular memory that's been stored in the DNA, while the monoterpenes can reprogram cells with correct information so that they can function properly. And this was first written about by David Stewart. But although you can find this claim widely cited, it's not very well supported, because essential oils aren't enzymatic. They're not enzymes. They can't cut out bases. But I have included frankincense and sacred frankincense in this layer because they are anti-tumoral. That means that they're anti-cancer. They work in a different mechanism, but they can prevent DNA damage, and they can also repair DNA in cancer cells, causing death of cancer cells, basically. And you know, in terms of how powerful they are when it comes to anti-aging, I think that no one's denying that. All right, so the next level up of the skincare pyramid are the ingredients which are able to transform your skin. And that's really what we want to do. We want to see change, because that's how we stay committed. Because if we're using the same products and we don't really see any improvement, we're not going to carry on using them. We're going to become pretty disillusioned. So these are the need to have ingredients which are going to moisturize, which are going to exfoliate, and which are going to increase our cell turnover. When it comes to moisturizing the skin, we need to give water to the skin to hydrate it, but we need to combine it with something oily to prevent that water from just evaporating back out again. And the best ingredients that we can incorporate into our skincare regimen are what is it called skin identical. So these are the ingredients that can already be found in the skin, or they mimic the upper layer of the skin naturally. And these are, for example, ceramides and essential fatty acids like your omegas, like your linoleic acids that are in the outermost layer of the skin, which is called the stratum corneum. And they form like this gooey stuff between the skin cells, which glues them together to form an efficient barrier. But more than that, it's waterproofing the skin to prevent the water just from evaporating back out of the skin, and it also allows for communication between the skin cells. So really, when it comes to the skin, I know I've said it before, but skin barrier literally is everything. If you have damaged your barrier, you just on an uphill battle to try to get your skin right. It's what makes the difference between healthy, comfortable skin and inflamed skin, itchy skin, eczematous skin. And balancing your lipid profile can also help to prevent breakouts, which is pretty interesting. So if you apply the right fatty acids to your skin, you can actually normalize your natural sebum composition on the skin and will prevent pores from being blocked, and it's going to prevent acne breakouts. This is why ceramides and essential fatty acids for me are for every single skin type. It's not just for dry skin, because also apart from cold weather, really dry environmental conditions, which is going to deplete the lipids in our skin, we're also losing ceramides and we're losing these essential fatty acids as we're aging. So by the time we're in our 30s, we've lost around 40% of our skin ceramides, and by the time we're in our 40s, we've lost around 60% of our ceramides. So where can we get these from? In the essential oil world, you're really looking at your carrier oils. Carrier oils can dilute an essential oil, but they don't actually decrease their efficacy. They're a good way that you can stretch your oils to last longer. And if you look at your skin types and which carrier oil is going to be best for each specific one, for normal skin, jojoba oil is a good all-rounder, while grapeseed oil, apricot kernels oil, and sweet almond oil are good choices for oily skin, and avocado and rosehip oil are very good for dehydrated skin. And argan and marula oil is also great for really tackling dry skin because they've got high concentrations of vitamin E and omega fatty acids. And apart from the carrier oils, there's certain essential oils that also have moisturizing properties. And these include sandalwood, Roman chamomile, ylang ylang, and cedarwood. There is, of course, a lot of overlap between these categories, with many essential oils having more than one property. So you'll see that some of the oils do come up in more than one level. Traditionally, when I'm talking about my skin health pyramid, I focus a lot on retinoids and alpha hydroxy acids because they increase cell turnover. But this is a really important concept because it's the process whereby your cells in the lower levels of the skin migrate up to the top, and then they can be exfoliated. And this is really important to understand because the faster our cell turnover time, the newer and fresher and glowier and more radiant our skin is going to look. And a child, if you look at it, the cell turnover time of a child, it's sitting around 2 weeks. And my cell turnover time is probably sitting at around 6 weeks, and someone in their 60s is probably sitting around 8 weeks. And alpha hydroxy acids, how they're working is they're weakening the glue between the skin cells, which are making the dead skin cells stick together, and so they're accelerating how quickly they can be exfoliated. Retinoids are vitamin A, and they're kind of like skincare celebrities, if you like, because they after after SPF, it's probably, if you're going to a dermatologist, first they're going to talk about SPF and next they're going to talk about a vitamin A. And it's because it really treats pretty much everything from pigmentation to acne to wrinkles to skin DNA damage. And they're powerful antioxidants which also increase cell turnover, and they also can stimulate your skin to make more collagen, which is what we want. So here, what options do we have? We've got rosehip carrier oil, which is actually a great source of vitamin A. It also contains vitamin C as well as fatty acids. And then you've got essential oils, which can increase cell turnover. For example, rose, geranium, neroli, vetiver, grapefruit, orange, and cypress. Rose is probably one of the most revered skincare ingredients when it comes to essential oils. It's powerfully anti-inflammatory, it's antioxidant, it's healing, and it can also stimulate cell renewal. Geranium can increase collagen production, and it's also useful in treating acne because it prevents excessive sebum or oil production, and it's also antibacterial. Neroli has high vitamin C content, and it can also boost collagen production. It's anti-acne, and it can help to regenerate scar tissue. And for those of us living in areas with high pollution, vetiver is a really nice addition to our skincare regimen, because not only is it known to have anti-aging benefits, and it's also extremely hydrating, but it also is regenerative, which means that it's really good in terms of anti-aging. And grapefruit and orange, really good for oily T-zone kind of problems. Cypress helps to reduce puffiness. It's also antibacterial, so it can help with acne, and it also firms and tightens the skin because it can stimulate muscle tissue. So now we come to the third and final layer of the skin health and beauty pyramid, and that's the layer where we're trying to optimize the skin. And these traditionally include the peptides and growth factors, which are like the real buzzwords in the skincare world. So peptides are chains of amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, which make up, for example, collagen, make up elastin. But in skin, what's so amazing is that these peptides can send targeted messages to the skin, telling it to tighten, telling it to relax, or to boost collagen production. So when it comes to the most famous peptides that we have available in some of our skincare products, they include copper tripeptides, rice and soybean peptides, as well as argireline, which is actually Botox in a bottle. It relaxes wrinkles. Growth factors, on the other hand, are natural proteins in the body, and they act like master locksmiths in that they can unlock a factory and increase production. For example, if a growth factor key fits into a receptor lock, it can activate that cell to do things. And depending on which growth factor you're using, it's going to unlock different things. And this is why this area of skincare is just so exciting at the moment, because the potential is just endless in terms of what you can tell your skin to do. So can tell it to do really good things, like making more collagen, making more elastin, or speeding up wound healing. And this is what we are doing in this. I've got a picture of Kim Kardashian here because this is the vampire facial that she kind of made more well known, and it's the most incredible procedure where you basically take your own blood, you spin it down, you extract platelets, which you then can stimulate further to make it think it's in a wound environment, to release more growth factors, and then you actually inject those growth factors into the skin. You're flooding the skin with anti-inflammatories and also boosting collagen production at the same time. So what are our essential oil candidates? Well, while essential oils themselves, they're not peptides or growth factors themselves, but what they can do is they can stimulate growth factors or peptides. And in doing so, they thereby can boost collagen production, and they can cause collagen remodeling, which is helpful to improve texture of the skin, scarring, decreasing pore size, those kind of things that a lot of people have concerns about. And they contain thiamyl and carvacrol, which help to prevent the enzymes which are breaking down collagen. Frankincense, as I mentioned earlier, is really an anti-aging powerhouse. Not only can it stimulate new collagen production because it's stimulating fibroblasts, which are the cells that produce collagen, but it can also inhibit enzymes that are breaking the collagen down, as well as stimulating elastin production, which is keeping our skin young and supple. Patchouli has active compounds which can help to stimulate muscle contractions, which can eliminate fine lines and wrinkles. And there was even a mouse study that was done where patchouli was applied 2 hours before they then irradiated the skin of the mice with UV light. And they found that patchouli protected the skin against the photo damage, and that the mice that had the patchouli applied to the skin before being irradiated with UV actually developed less wrinkles, and they ended up with 26% more collagen than the mice that didn't get the patchouli onto the skin before being irradiated with the UV. Helichrysum and ylang-ylang exhibit tissue remodeling effects, which is why they're useful in wound healing. And tissue remodeling is also useful in scarring to shrink pores and also stimulate new collagen production. Palmarosa is actually one of my favorite essential oils when it comes to skincare, and I think it's a hidden gem because not many people talk about it. I think already know about how great it really is when it comes to skincare, and it's really powerfully pro-collagen. It really boosts collagen production. Myrrh and sandalwood I chatted about earlier, and lavender has also been shown to boost collagen production, and also what it does is it causes fibroblasts, those collagen producing cells, to differentiate because it upregulates growth factors, specifically one that's called transforming growth factor beta, and this is why it's helping in wound healing, for example. Certain essential oils can also prevent elastase, which is the enzyme which is breaking down elastin, which we need to prevent our skin from sagging. And here you can see lemon being the most potent oil that can prevent this elastase activity. So there you have the skin health and beauty pyramid with the fundamentals, the ingredients that you want to transform the skin, and finally the ingredients that you want to use to optimize the skin. But of course, what you're putting on the skin, as I started the talk with, is just a part of the puzzle, because you have to look at the whole picture, and this concept of inside out beauty is so important, with nutrition, with sleep, and the role of supplements becoming more well understood. Almonds, chia seeds, salmon, avocado, all the things that have these good fatty acids that we want to be ingesting into our diet, they contain essential fatty acids which are intensely anti-inflammatory. And I think that inflammation is kind of the villain of the 21st century, and that we just want to incorporate as many anti-inflammatory foods into our diet as possible. And some of the call-out supplements that are available through Young Living are, for example, obviously Ninja, because that's so powerfully antioxidant, as well as sulfazyme, which contains MSM, which is a form of dietary sulfur. And what sulfur is doing is it can actually donate the sulfur to keratin, which is important in the structure of the skin, and it's going to help to improve skin quality and texture. And then you've got omega jars, which contains your omega-3 fatty acids, as well as vitamin D and coenzyme Q10, which helps to stimulate the skin in terms of giving energy to the skin to do the metabolic functions it needs to do to stay healthy. Another supplement which is important is Life9, because the skin is a reflection of gut health. You've got a skin-gut-mind axis, and you have to focus on gut health if you're going to be looking at skin health. And my other top supplements, which are not in this slide, but that I do like to recommend to patients, include type 1 hydrolyzed collagen, as well as glutathione, vitamin C, pycnogenol, and turmeric. So seeking true skin health is very much like growing a tree. if you nurture your roots with what is natural and what is clean, and you refresh your soils with time of growth and time of rest, then you too can grow strong and stand proud in your own beauty. So my conflicts of interest include Root 4. It's a clean cosmeceutical range of which I am the founder and which should be launching in a couple of months. And it's medical grade cosmetics, which have been formulated actually based on the skin health and beauty pyramid, as well obviously as my practice, which in itself is called TASH 360, where we really try to embody this approach of a total approach to skin health. Thank you. Thanks, Ali.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I don't know if you want to stop sharing, and if you have any time for questions, maybe. I don't know if people have questions.